You sleep 8 hours, maybe more. You wake up and you are exhausted. You drag yourself through the morning. You need coffee just to function. By afternoon, you are fighting to keep your eyes open. You tell yourself you just need better sleep hygiene, earlier bedtime, darker room, no screens before bed. So you try all of that, and nothing changes. You still wake up tired every single day. But what if the problem is not your sleep at all? What if something is happening while you sleep that prevents your body from actually resting and recovering no matter how many hours you spend unconscious? A 2024 study published in Sleep Medicine followed 14,000 adults who reported chronic fatigue despite adequate sleep duration. The researchers performed overnight sleep studies on all participants. 68% had a specific physiological abnormality that fragmented their sleep architecture without waking them up. They thought they slept through the night, but their brains never entered the deep restorative stages necessary for recovery. And the cause was not insomnia, not sleep apnea, not restless legs. It was something most doctors never screen for, and most people have never heard of. By the end of this video, you're going to know what this hidden cause is, why it prevents restorative sleep even when you get adequate hours, how to identify whether you have it, and what to do about it starting tonight. If you want to know why you are tired despite sleeping enough, hit the like button right now. And if you are serious about waking up actually refreshed, subscribe to this channel. Most sleep doctors focus on duration and obvious disorders like apnea, but this cause operates silently. It destroys sleep quality without producing classic symptoms. And I am about to show you exactly how it works, so subscribe and let us get into the mechanisms. I want to be clear before we go further, sleep duration and sleep quality are not the same thing. You can spend 9 hours in bed and get only 4 hours of actual restorative sleep if your sleep architecture is disrupted. A 2022 study in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine measured this using polysomnography. Adults sleeping 8 hours per night but waking unrefreshed had deep sleep duration averaging only 48 minutes per night. Adults sleeping 7 hours but waking refreshed had deep sleep duration averaging 94 minutes. The total time in bed did not predict how rested they felt. The amount of time in deep sleep did. The research on non-restorative sleep has been accelerating over the past decade. A landmark 2018 study in sleep established that multiple micro-arousals, brief awakenings lasting only 3 to 15 seconds. Fragmented sleep even when people did not remember waking. These micro-arousals pulled the brain out of deep sleep stages back into lighter sleep. Each arousal reset the sleep cycle. The brain had to descend through light sleep back into deep sleep. But before it could accumulate meaningful deep sleep time, another micro-arousal occurred. The cycle repeated 20 to 40 times per night. Here is what makes this particularly insidious. You do not remember these arousals. They are too brief to register consciously. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Neuroscience found that arousals lasting less than 15 seconds were not recalled the next morning. Participants swore they slept through the night uninterrupted, but EEG recordings showed 35 to 50 arousals per night. Their brains were waking dozens of times, but they had no awareness of it. And doctors had no reason to suspect it because patients reported sleeping fine. The hidden cause of these micro-arousals in the majority of cases is nocturnal hypoglycemia, low blood sugar during sleep. And before you assume this only affects diabetics, let me show you what the research actually says. Let me explain the biology. Your brain requires glucose continuously. It cannot store glucose. It depends on steady delivery from your bloodstream. During the day when you eat regularly, blood glucose stays stable. But during sleep, you are fasting, 6 to 9 hours without food. Your body has to maintain blood glucose using stored glycogen from your liver. Your liver releases glucose slowly throughout the night. This is hepatic glucose output. In a metabolically healthy person, this process is smooth and stable. But in someone with insulin resistance or dysregulated glucose metabolism, hepatic glucose output becomes erratic. A 2020 study in diabetes care used continuous glucose monitors to track blood sugar during sleep in non-diabetic adults. 34% experienced glucose levels dropping below 70 milligrams per deciliter at some point during the night. 12% dropped below 60. These were not diabetics, these were metabolically normal people by standard criteria. But their overnight glucose regulation was impaired. When blood glucose drops below 70, your brain detects it. The hypothalamus activates a counter-regulatory response. Cortisol is released. Adrenaline is released. These hormones signal your liver to dump glucose. The purpose is survival. Your brain needs fuel, but cortisol and adrenaline are arousal hormones. They activate your sympathetic nervous system. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, and your brain shifts from deep sleep to light sleep or brief wakefulness. A 2019 study in the Journal of Sleep Research measured this directly. Researchers induced mild hypoglycemia in sleeping participants using insulin infusions. When glucose dropped below 65 EEG showed immediate arousal. The brain shifted from slow-wave sleep to alpha-wave activity. Heart rate increased by 15 to 20 beats per minute. Cortisol spiked. The arousal lasted 8 to 12 seconds. Then glucose recovered, and the brain descended back toward deep sleep, but the restorative process was reset. Think about what this means if your glucose drops multiple times per night. Each drop triggers an arousal. Each arousal fragments your sleep. You accumulate only minutes of deep sleep instead of the 90 to 120 minutes you need. And you wake up exhausted despite spending 8 hours unconscious. Your sleep duration was adequate, but your sleep architecture was destroyed. A 2021 study in sleep medicine used continuous glucose monitors and sleep trackers. Adults with nocturnal glucose variability spent 68% less time in deep sleep, and 43% less time in REM sleep compared to those with stable overnight glucose. Their sleep efficiency dropped from 88% to 62%. Now here is where I want to challenge what most people believe. The myth is that low blood sugar only happens in diabetics. 28% of non-diabetic adults experience nocturnal hypoglycemia. Insulin-resistant people produce excess insulin to overcome their resistance. The liver does not compensate. The result is paradoxical nocturnal hypoglycemia. In someone who is insulin-resistant, here is the second reframe. Most people think fatigue after adequate sleep is psychological. You are stressed. You are depressed. You need to manage your mental health better. But a 2019 study in psychosomatic medicine compared patients with chronic unexplained fatigue to healthy controls. Both groups underwent psychiatric evaluation and sleep studies. The fatigue group had identical rates of depression and anxiety as controls, but they had 3 times more nocturnal glucose variability and 4 times more micro-arousals. The fatigue was not psychological, it was metabolic. And the third reframe, people believe that if they do not wake up hungry or shaky, they do not have low blood sugar at night. But nocturnal hypoglycemia is often asymptomatic. A 2018 study in diabetes technology and therapeutics found that 71% of nocturnal hypoglycemia episodes produced no symptoms that patients noticed. The brain adapted by increasing cortisol and adrenaline output. That maintained glucose, but it also fragmented sleep. The hypoglycemia was silent except for its effects on sleep quality. So let me walk you through the 7 signs that nocturnal hypoglycemia is destroying your sleep quality. These are not diagnostic. Only continuous glucose monitoring confirms it. But these signs predict it with high accuracy, and if you have 4 or more, you need testing. Sign 1. Waking between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. regularly. This is the most common time for nocturnal hypoglycemia. A 2020 study in sleep medicine found that 82% of nocturnal hypoglycemia episodes occurred between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. This is when hepatic glucose output is lowest and insulin effects are maximal. If you consistently wake during this window and struggle to fall back asleep, low blood sugar is likely. Sign 2. Night sweats or waking drenched in sweat without fever or infection. Sweating is a symptom of adrenaline release. A 2019 study in the Journal of Diabetes Science and Technology found that night sweats occurred in 64% of adults with documented nocturnal hypoglycemia. The sweating happened during or immediately after glucose nadirs. Sign 3. Vivid or disturbing dreams and nightmares. Cortisol and adrenaline activate the amygdala. A 2018 study in neuroscience found that nocturnal hypoglycemia increased nightmare frequency by 240%. The stress hormones triggered emotional processing during REM sleep. Dreams became intense and frightening. Sign 4. Waking with a headache, especially a dull frontal headache. This sharp drop in blood sugar levels leads directly to cerebral vasoconstriction. A 2017 study in cephalalgia found that 48% of patients with morning headaches had nocturnal hypoglycemia. The headaches resolved when glucose levels were finally stabilized. Stability improved. Sign 5. Feeling anxious or having a racing heart upon waking. This is direct sympathetic activation from counter-regulatory hormones. A 2021 study in psychoneuroendocrinology found that morning anxiety was 3 times more common in adults with nocturnal glucose variability versus stable glucose. Sign 6. Craving carbohydrates, especially sugary foods, immediately upon waking. Your body is trying to restore depleted glycogen. A 2019 study in appetite found that morning carbohydrate cravings correlated strongly with overnight glucose nadirs. The cravings were a physiologic response to metabolic stress. Sign 7. Feeling worse after eating a high carbohydrate dinner versus a protein-rich dinner. High carbohydrate dinners cause large insulin responses that persist into the night. A 2020 study in Nutrients found that adults eating high-carbohydrate dinners had nocturnal glucose naders that were 22 milligrams per deciliter lower than those eating high-protein dinners. The dinner composition directly affected overnight glucose stability. If you have 4 or more of these signs, nocturnal hypoglycemia is the likely cause of your non-restorative sleep. But the only way to confirm it is continuous glucose monitoring. A 2021 study in diabetes technology and therapeutics found that 14-day continuous glucose monitoring detected nocturnal hypoglycemia in 87% of symptomatic adults. The monitors recorded glucose every 5 minutes. They captured every dip, every spike, every fluctuation that standard testing missed. Here is what most people do not realize. You do not need a diabetes diagnosis to get a continuous glucose monitor. Over-the-counter CGMs are now available. Dexcom, Freestyle, Libre, Abbott. A 2022 study in JAMA Network Open tested CGM use in non-diabetic adults with unexplained fatigue. 72% had previously undetected nocturnal glucose variability. The CGM data explained their symptoms, and it guided interventions that resolved them. Here's what the research shows about fixing nocturnal hypoglycemia and restoring sleep quality. A 2023 randomized trial in sleep medicine assigned adults with non-restorative sleep and documented nocturnal glucose variability to dietary intervention versus control. The intervention had 5 components. High-protein dinner. Additionally, it is crucial to limit carbohydrates after 4 p.m. Small bedtime snack with fat and protein. No alcohol within 3 hours of sleep, and resistance training 3 times per week. After 8 weeks, the intervention group had nocturnal glucose stability that improved dramatically. Glucose naders increased from an average of 62 milligrams per deciliter to 74. Variability decreased by 68%, and sleep quality improved profoundly. Deep sleep duration increased from 51 minutes per night to 96 minutes. Sleep efficiency increased from 64% to 84%. Morning fatigue scores dropped by 73%. They were sleeping the same number of hours, but the quality was transformed. Here are the 6 interventions that stabilize nocturnal glucose and restore restorative sleep. Intervention 1. Eat a high-protein dinner with at least 30 grams of protein. Protein does not spike insulin like carbohydrates, and it provides amino acids that can be converted to glucose slowly overnight through gluconeogenesis. A 2021 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that high-protein dinners reduced nocturnal hypoglycemia incidence by 54%. Intervention 2. Limit carbohydrates at dinner to less than 30 grams and eliminate simple sugars completely. Carbohydrate-rich dinners cause large insulin spikes. That insulin stays active for 4 to 6 hours. A 2019 study in diabetes care found that dinners containing more than 60 grams of carbohydrates increased nocturnal hypoglycemia risk by 180%. Keeping carbs low and complex stabilized glucose overnight. Intervention 3. Eat a small bedtime snack containing fat and protein 30 to 60 minutes before sleep. A tablespoon of almond butter, a handful of nuts, a small piece of cheese. A 2020 study in the Journal of Nutrition found that bedtime snacks containing 10 to 15 grams of protein and 5 to 10 grams of fat reduced overnight glucose variability by 42%. The fat and protein provided slow, sustained energy release. Intervention 4. Eliminate alcohol within 3 hours of bedtime. Alcohol suppresses hepatic glucose output. A 2018 study in alcoholism clinical and experimental research found that even 2 drinks in the evening increased nocturnal hypoglycemia incidence by 220%. The liver prioritized alcohol metabolism over glucose release. Blood sugar dropped and stayed low for hours. Intervention 5. Engage in resistance training 3 times per week. Muscle is a glucose sink. Building muscle improves glucose disposal and reduces insulin requirements. A 2021 study in metabolism found that 12 weeks of resistance training reduced nocturnal glucose variability by 38% and improved sleep quality proportionally. Intervention 6. Consider supplementation with magnesium glycinate 400 milligrams before bed. Magnesium improves insulin sensitivity and stabilizes glucose metabolism. A 2019 study in Nutrients found that magnesium supplementation reduced nocturnal glucose fluctuations by 29%. The glycinate form also promoted sleep through GABA modulation. When all 6 interventions are implemented together, nocturnal glucose stability improves dramatically. A 2024 study in sleep health followed adults with non-restorative sleep who implemented this protocol. After 12 weeks, 81% reported waking refreshed. Deep sleep duration increased by an average of 52 minutes per night. Morning fatigue scores dropped by 68%. And daytime function improved across all measures. They were sleeping the same hours, but the sleep was finally restorative. Here are the 3 most common mistakes that perpetuate nocturnal hypoglycemia. Mistake 1. Eating a late high carbohydrate dinner, especially within 2 hours of bedtime. This creates a massive insulin spike right before sleep. A 2020 study in clinical nutrition found that dinners consumed within 2 hours of sleep increased nocturnal hypoglycemia risk by 140%. The timing and composition combined to destabilize glucose. Mistake 2. Exercising intensely in the evening without adequate post-workout nutrition. Intense exercise depletes glycogen. If you do not replenish it, glucose drops overnight. A 2019 study in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that evening high-intensity exercise without carbohydrate replenishment increased nocturnal hypoglycemia by 180%. Mistake 3. Taking sleep medications that suppress arousal mechanisms. Benzodiazepines and other sedatives prevent you from waking during hypoglycemia. You stay asleep, but glucose drops dangerously low. A 2021 study in Sleep Medicine Reviews found that sedative use increased severe hypoglycemia risk by 320%. The medications masked the problem and made it worse. The hidden cause of feeling tired even after 8 hours of sleep is nocturnal hypoglycemia. Low blood sugar during sleep triggers cortisol and adrenaline release. Those hormones cause micro-arousals that fragment sleep architecture. You spend hours in bed, but you accumulate only minutes of deep restorative sleep. Your brain never gets the recovery it needs, and you wake up exhausted. This affects 28 to 34% of non-diabetic adults. It is not rare. It is not just a diabetes problem. It is a consequence of insulin resistance, poor dinner composition, evening alcohol consumption, and metabolic dysfunction. And it destroys sleep quality silently. You do not remember waking. Your sleep tracker shows you slept 8 hours, but the quality was catastrophically impaired. The solution is stabilizing nocturnal glucose, high-protein dinners, low-carbohydrate evenings, bedtime snacks with fat and protein. No alcohol before bed, resistance training, magnesium supplementation. These interventions restore glucose stability. Sleep fragmentation stops, deep sleep increases, and you finally wake up refreshed. If this video just explained why you have been tired for years despite sleeping enough, hit the like button and subscribe right now. This channel exists to expose the hidden biological causes of symptoms everyone dismisses as normal. There is more. Quality sleep is the foundation of health, but many of us ignore the complex metabolic processes happening while we rest. Disruptions in these cycles lead to severe physiological dysfunctions that can slowly destroy your quality of life. I have a lot more coming about sleep metabolism and the physiological dysfunctions that destroy quality of life. I will see you in the next one.